Hi all, welcome aboard Marji Bee. In this video we share our journey down the River Thames to the 2024 Freeman Owners Mid Thames meet at Abingdon. We had wet weather, sunny weather, beautiful boats and lots of laughs on the way. But most of all, we enjoyed some fantastic cruising with some wonderful company. And it would be lovely if you would join us for our journey down the Thames. Oh, and if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like button. We started out from our home mooring on the Upper Thames with a 4-boat flotilla. The plan was that this was going to grow on our way downstream, and it certainly did. It was a bit of a grey, rainy afternoon, but it didn't spoil our fun as we wound our way down the Thames towards Newbridge. The 4 boats that started the flotilla journey were ourselves in our Freeman 23 Marji Bee, Rupert in his Freeman 23 Minerva 2, Peter and Annie in their Freeman 23 Dom Pedro, and heading up the fleet were Chris and Brian in their Freeman 26 Stravagan.
Start the time. Hey, Rupert, how you doing?
It was actually a relatively short trip for our first leg down to Newbridge for our first night, down through the actually quite deep Shifford Lock, which was our only lock of the trip. And before we knew it, we were down at Newbridge, and I think the rain started to fall a bit heavier as we were mooring up there, hence the slightly clouded lens. But the skies did clear and we headed into the Maybush for dinner. And we woke to a lovely start to the Thursday morning. It was still, the sun was shining. The swans came over to say hello and have a little feed. It was a great start to the day, although the forecast was that the wind was going to get up later on, so I think we were going to encounter some tricky conditions. My breakfast of choice today was good old sausage sandwiches. The plan today was to make our way down to the moorings just below Oseley Bridge. So from Newbridge to there's 5 locks, being Northmoor, Pink Hill, Aynsham, Kings and Godstow Lock, which is the first of the hydraulic locks. And you can see from this shot here, if you can ignore the spider's web, that the wind is starting to get up now. And I think this was probably the most tricky of moorings in the wind, because it was blowing us off the lock landing at this point, so it was a bit of a tricky mooring and we needed a bit of help, and thank you Brian for heading back to take our stern lines here. The wind had dropped a touch by the time we got to Aynsham, and it was much easier mooring and manoeuvring. But for the first time on this trip, we were in a lock that was big enough to get all 4 of us in there, so there was no waiting around, we could head off together.
Heading up the Flotilla is Marji Bee.
We made our way down through King's Lock, the last of the manual locks on the way down the river, and through the Skew Bridge at Godstow before heading down through Godstow Lock and onto Port Meadow. Again, Godstow Lock was big enough to get all 4 of us in one go, so we could make the last leg down across Port Meadow to Oseley together as a full flotilla. And at least there was someone that was out enjoying the day being a bit windy. And we prepared ourselves for Oseley Bridge, and we've started a little tradition of doing thumbs up to the video for this. And we moored up just below Oseley Bridge as planned. And we'd made good time to get to Osney, so Petra and I, Eddie and Parker wandered into Oxford for the afternoon and found this boy fishing on the Osney outflow on the way in. And once we'd finished in Oxford, all skippers and crew and dogs made their way to the Hollybush, which was just round the corner from where we moored, for dinner. They've got a wood-fired pizza oven in there, so it's a great place to eat and some great food. We woke to another beautiful morning on the Friday, albeit that we were actually in the shade of the building site opposite, which was quite noisy first thing in the morning, I'll admit. And while we were waiting to head off, we embellished Marji Bee with her bunting ready for arrival at Abingdon. It was quite a gentle start to the Friday, as we were keeping in touch with and tracking a couple more boats that were joining our flotilla. Ken in his Freeman 28 Gentle Drift and Tony in his Freeman 26 Swift, who had to leave the Upper Thames a day behind us, so we're kind of playing catch up. But the ISIS farmhouse pub just above the Iffley Lock was quite a convenient place for us to sit tight and wait for them to arrive. Now, this was a really lovely exchange because Eddie and Parker remembered the lockkeeper at Osney.
He remembers you when we were down here last month and you gave him a treat. I told you that you wouldn't forget. Yeah, he's like, oi!
I got distracted by making
He's a very demanding little fella.
Don't ever underestimate how astute and clever your dogs are.
And thank you for the dog treats.
And on our way through Oxford, we performed an unintentional test of which is the quickest way to negotiate Folly Bridge. Don Pedro took the North Channel through the main bridge, whereas Stravagan, Minerva and Marji Bee took the smaller South Channel. Which do you think was quickest? As expected, they were both exactly the same. There were plenty of moorings outside the ISIS farmhouse, so we settled in there and waited for Ken and Tony to arrive.
Yeah, come in here, Ken. Yeah.
And it wasn't long before we saw the very welcome sight of Ken and Tony arriving under blue skies. We'd also been joined by Roger and Anne in their Freeman 24 White Orchid, which took the flotilla count up to a very satisfying 7 in total.
Very good to see you, Ken.
Hello, gentlemen.
Go down, Roger. Yeah, got it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Do you want to tie back off to you, or shall I tie off here?
Do you want to tie this one off, Ken? This one?
Yes, please, sir. Hey,
We'll bring you a bit forward. So you...
Ruby, my darling, my nautical brother.
Bring you closer here, so you can...
And as it had obviously been a very stressful morning for Tony and Ken to catch up with us, we had to stop at the Isis farmhouse for a little longer for them to rest. And here is the final Freeman fleet for our last leg. We have 3 Freeman 23s, 1 24, 2 26s and 1 Freeman 28. And when the refreshing and resting was done, we headed away from the pub down through Iffley Lock towards Sandford and on towards Abingdon. Now, I think that this was my favourite part of the trip overall. It was a lovely afternoon, all of us together, and cruising on your own is fun, but when you're doing it in company, the whole dynamic changes, and it's a lovely experience. And if you ever get the chance to do it, if it's within or with other boats of your mark or with any boats, it's a lovely thing to do. I'd thoroughly recommend it. And we had a lovely moment at Sandford Lock where Peter, Marji Bee's previous owner, came out to meet us there to have a look over his old girl and check that we were still looking after her. And we were, obviously, and he was very happy to see her.
Thanks, guys.
And with Sandford Lock being a huge lock, we got all 7 of us in there with plenty of room to spare as well, which gave us the wonderful opportunity of having the whole flotilla leaving the lock together and having a little bit of fun on the way down to Abingdon. And after the fun on the way down from Sandford to Abingdon, when we arrived, it was time to sort out our stern on moorings along the lock landing. We'd had a few. Freemans had already turned up earlier on in the afternoon, which was such a welcome sight to see. Now, we don't often get the opportunity to do stern on moorings, let alone heading in between two other boats, but I was very happy to glide Marji Bee back onto her mooring with no troubles whatsoever. We then enjoyed a lovely afternoon in the shade of the trees, catching up with old friends, making new friends, talking about our boats. Others turned up throughout the afternoon, and we then made our way into Abingdon and picked up a takeaway from the Chinese restaurant and settled in for bed. And Saturday was the main part of the owners' meet. We all did our own thing during the day, really. We took the dogs for a walk and wandered into Abingdon. But late afternoon and into the evening, the barbecue was fired up and we filled it with food and filled our tummies and drank and talked well into the darkness. And here really lies the essence of the owners' meet. It's spending time and talking with like-minded people, and there's so much knowledge within this group that if you've got a problem with your boat, there's always someone that knows the solution. It's just a fantastic event for anyone that owns a Freeman, that is on the Thames, that can make it there that weekend. So if you're interested, keep an eye out on the Freeman Owners Facebook page. Details will be on there for the 2025 meet, and it'll be so nice to have some new owners joining us. and all too soon Sunday morning arrived and we had to make our way back up the River Thames. We were going to do the whole trip in one day, all the way back to our home mooring. So we said goodbye to everyone there and said that, committed that we would see them all again next year. A lot of the owners we see throughout the year, but there's some people we only see at the owners meet. And we slipped away and disappeared back off upstream. So we were back up through Sandford Lock, being slightly more lonely in there than we were on the way down, up through Iffley and up through Oxford, where there was a regatta which did slow us down a fair bit. We took the North Channel through Folly Bridge, and we wound our way up through Oxford to Osney.
How you doing? It wouldn't be a trip downstream without seeing you guys. See you soon.
We always seem to see that Freeman 23 acanthus on our way downriver. It's lovely. We made our way through Godstow and up to King's Lock, the first of the manual gated locks on the Thames. Everything upstream from here is manual. I have heard that some people get out of their boats and kiss the ground there because they know that there won't be any problems with hydraulic gates for the rest of the journey.
I like this a lot.
I don't mind the cabbage, but
And as the sun was lowering in the late afternoon, we arrived back at our home mooring. It had been a lovely few days away with friends on our boats, and we look forward to next year already. Well, if you have enjoyed this video, please do give it the thumbs up. It takes a lot of effort to pull these videos together, so a thumbs up really lets me know that you guys are enjoying it. And if you want to see any more of our trips out, journeys, then do consider hitting the subscribe button as well. It'll get videos onto your homepage when they're published, and you won't miss anything. See you soon.